Now, today's concept is thread and priorities. What is thread priority? So we are going to discuss about thread priority and yield method in this today's session. So before going to thread priority, what is the meaning of thread priority? Here, if you see, I'm creating a one thread and executing the thread. So now one thread, main thread is executing first, and my whatever the thread I am creating, that is executing next. In most of the scenarios it will come like this. In some scenarios the first thread means thread 0 is executing first, but most 90% main thread will execute first only. Yeah, in this scenario if you see, thread 0 is executing first, after thread 0 main thread is going to execute. So which thread, actually main thread is there and thread 0 is there, which thread need to execute first, which thread need to execute next. So if you need to tell, means you need to set the priority for each and every thread. By default each and every thread has a priority. So here this line is executed by the main thread, this line is executed by the main thread. So who is creating the main thread? JVM is creating the main thread. So by default JVM will assign the default priority as 5, default priority as 5 for main thread. If you have any doubt, you can print. Now thread dot current thread dot get priority. Now if you run, it will print 5. 5 is the priority. Actually the priorities range is 1 to 10. 1 is very low priority, 10 is very max priority, 5 is normal priority. So by default main thread priority is 5 only. So JVM creates main thread and 5 is the default priority of the main thread. If you want, you can change. Suppose here I am changing thread dot current thread means main thread will come. Set priority, I am setting 7 as the priority. Now if you print, it is printing 7 because I am setting 7. But if you not set 7, if you are not setting 7, so what it will print? 5, because JVM will set 5 by default. Now suppose if I will create, I will create here in run method, this run method will executed by which thread? Main thread or thread 0? Thread 0. Thread 0 is I am creating thread 0, T1. T1 is the thread 0. So for T1 thread or thread 0 thread, now T1 thread has how much priority by default? Because main thread is created by JVM and it is assigning 5. Now this thread is created by me and I am not setting any priority. But if I not set any priority, what is the default priority? It is printing 5. T1 thread has priority 5. Suppose now if you see, it is printing 7. Main thread priority, it is printing 7 and child thread also printing 7. So what is the meaning is, by default if you are not assigning any priority to the particular thread, then the main thread, then the parent thread will, whatever the parent thread has priority, that priority is inherited to the child thread. So here the what is the priority of parent thread? 7. Now child thread priority is also 7. If you are commenting this one, what is the default priority of main thread? 5. So default priority. If you want to set priority, T1 dot set priority. Now if I print, it is printing 10. T1 priority is 10. And if you see the output, thread 0 is first executing, main is second executing. thread 0 first executing, thread 0 first executing, thread 0 first executing. Instead of max priority, if I write min priority, what is the meaning of variables min priority or max? Min priority is nothing but 1, max priority is nothing but 10. Instead of min priority, you can also set 1, not a problem. Yeah, here main is executing, here also. Yeah, if you see, main is the most chance will come to the main only. Yeah, main. But if you set 10, the mostly means, if you give the high priority, you don't think always the high priority thread will increase, but chance is there to increase the chance. It is depending on thread scheduler only. Okay, so in this one, I am setting a priority after creating. By default, if creating thread, I created a thread t1 dot start. So if I not set priority, what is the default priority after start? 5 only, because the parent thread main thread has 5 and child thread also inherited same priority. After starting the thread also you can set the priority, not a problem. But on the time also, if thread is existed, it will take that priority. If thread is already dead state, it will know. Yeah, there is no effect on thread execution because thread is already dead. So there is a no matter of priority if it is set or not set any value. So priority means, if two threads are more than two threads are more multiple threads are there, then which thread need to execute? That is the main we are saying. If I am t1 thread, t2 thread is there, I am telling to the thread scheduler execute t1. First preference you need to give t1. After t1 you just go to t2. How can I say? I will set the values. So instead of setting the numbers, already predefined variables are given in thread class. What are the variables? Min priority, max priority, norm priority. Min priority is nothing but 1 is nothing but min priority, 5 is norm priority, 10 is max priority. So you can give 1 to 10 value. If I give 1 to 11, 11 is other than boundary of 1 to 10, it will throw an exception, illegal argument exception, because it will take 1 to 10 only. Otherwise, if you not interested to remember the numbers, just remember the variable names: min priority, max priority. No need to write thread dot, but you just I'm writing thread dot max priority, at thread dot min priority, at thread dot norm priority. You can use any three. 1 is representing min priority, 5 is representing norm priority, 10 is representing max priority. So these priorities will take care by the thread scheduler. If thread scheduler will consider your priorities, may not be considered, because this priority, thread dot priority, is depending on your OS operating system. If your underlying operating system like Windows or Mac, if it is supports priorities, thread priorities, then this method will also useful. If it is not support priorities, because some of the OS's implementation time, they are not considered these priorities on this. If such operating systems are there, then if you execute this program, it will not consider the priorities. In some operating systems, it will support the priority. Suppose t1 has some priority, t2 has some priority. If t1 has max priority, which thread need to execute first? T1 thread. But in some operating systems, the thread scheduler will not consider the priorities, because they are not implementing the priorities consideration in the operating system implementation. So based on your operating system it will work, not based on your Java program. You don't worry. If same program will work something like Mac, and if same program will work something like in Windows environment, different outputs will come, because based on the operating system level programs. So that is the min priority, max priority, norm priority of a thread. So we can't tell the thread scheduler will definitely take over this priority. It's depending on your operating system, but most of the operating systems will consider the priorities of a thread. Okay, now if you come, I have the two threads here. Only one thread is there, t1, and if I'm going to two threads, t1 is my first thread, t2 is my second thread, and t2 dot start. Just I am removing my priorities. Now how many threads are there? Three threads are there. One is the main thread, and second one is t1, third one is t2. Three threads are executing. Now I am in run thread 1, I am in run main, I am in main method. First thread is executing thread 1, second is main, third is thread 0. If you execute, don't every time don't expect same output. It is depending on your thread scheduler. We don't know which one will execute. Okay, okay. Now what I will do, if three threads or more threads are coming, if more threads are coming, in some situations what is happening, I want to execute, I am executing a normal task. One thread, suppose T1 thread is executing one normal task, that is a not important task, some normal task. Then what I will do, if suppose I want to check my, what is my intention is, my T1 thread is executing this logic, but it is not a important logic to execute. It's a normal logic, it's a normal method, normal thing. So no need of give that much of priority this thread, but I am giving a thread priority is a 5, and other threads also 5. By default I am giving all threads are same priority. If all threads have same priority, then which thread will execute? Depending on thread scheduler, we can't expect this thread will execute first, this thread will execute next. We can't expect any thread will execute. Suppose in this situation, main thread, thread 0, thread 1 all are 5 only. Now if I execute, thread 0 is executing, thread 0, thread 1. Yeah, if you see, different outputs are coming. Yeah, in this scenario, thread 1 executed, thread 2 second executed. So we can't expect it which thread execute first and which thread execute next. So what I would like to tell is, execute my thread, execute currently executing. What I am doing is, whatever the thread is currently executing, stop execution of my thread. I am going to ready state, and if any other thread is there with same priority or other than my priority, high priority, just execute those thread. Is there possible in Java? Means two threads are there, T1, T2. Two threads are executing in Java. Now what is my intention is, presently T1 is executing. In the time of T1 executing, what I am doing is, I want to stop the execution of T1, and I want to give the execution for some other thread that is same priority or more priority than me. I will give the execution control to the T2. So T1, T2, two threads are there. Now T1 has a priority 5, T2 has a priority 5. Now thread scheduler will decide which thread need to execute. Suppose thread scheduler gives a chance to T2. T2 is executing. Now what T2 is thinking is, I am not interested to execute first. If any other thread is there with same level, same priority with me, means whatever the priority I have, if the same priority with any thread is there or more than my priority is any thread is alive, execute those threads. After that execute my thread. Is that possible? Yes, possible. How it is possible? Yield method, thread dot yield method, thread dot yield method. What is the yield method is doing? Yield method is a static method and a native method. You can call it with respect to of thread class, no need of calling thread object. So if you call yield method, this line is executed by the which thread? Which thread? Suppose T1 is executing this line. Now 31 is executing this thread. After executing this line, what T1 will do? It will go to the ready state, stop the execution and go to the ready state, and it will give the chance to the T2. Why it is giving the chance to the T2? T2 also have a priority 5 and T1 also have a priority 5. If T1 is going to ready state and giving a chance to another thread which is have 5 or more than 5 priority, if it is have a 5 or more than 5 priority, it will give. So T1 T2 as all both are 5 is the priority. Now T1 is going, if first chance is given by the T1, then T1 will go to the ready state, T2 will execute. Suppose T2 is executing first, T2 will go. So if you see, yeah, that's why what happened, why main method is came. T1, first T1 thread executing, what T1 is doing? Yield means it is going to ready state, so it is giving a chance to the T2 thread. Now T2 thread is also coming, and T2 thread, what T2 thread is doing? T2 is also calling thread dot yield. Now another thread is giving, it is going to the ready state. So main thread is came, main thread will execute these two lines. After main thread execution, again T1 will continue the below two lines and T2 will continue the below two lines. So like that yield method will be there. Suppose instead of thread dot yield, if I write thread dot yield, in this what will happen? Main method will execute or not? This line is executed by the main method, so there is a less chance to get main. So if you see, main is executing at last, first is executing thread 0 and thread 1. Suppose instead of thread 1, if I give T1, don't think it is a static method, it is a static method, so we can always need to call through class. If you call through the object, it is also work, but what will happen? It is not yielding the T1 thread, it is yielding the, this line is executed by the which thread? Main thread. So if you see, T1 dot yield, T1 dot yield means, don't think always. Here if you see, thread 0 executing first, thread 1 is also executing next, main thread executing at last. But we can't expect, because thread scheduler will, maybe first main thread will execute sometimes, it is depending on thread scheduler. But yield method is giving a hint through the thread scheduler. Don't execute my thread, presently executing thread, don't execute presently executing thread. Choose another thread which is have same priority or more than that priority, choose that thread. If there is no thread is available, all threads are low priority then currently executing thread, then don't, then execute my thread only. If suppose 5 threads are there, all threads have a low priority and currently executing thread has a high priority, then if you call yield method, there is no effect because all threads have low priority. Yield method will do if any other threads are there with high priority or same priority, then it will give the chance to the those threads. If the other threads are not there, otherwise if threads are there with low priority, then it will not give the chance. So there is a no impact of yield method. So that is the yield method. Yield method, if T1 dot yield method means, it will not yield the T1 thread, it will yield the, this line is executed by which thread? Main thread. So it will yield the main thread, not T1 thread. Don't confuse, because the yield is a static method. That's why don't call with thread object, directly called with respect to thread class. Yeah, if you see, but don't, here if you see, sometimes main method may execute first main thread. Yeah, here main is also executing, but I am yielding, but it is not taking, because in between yielding the main is completed the execution, means otherwise T1 T2 are not created at the time also. We can't expect it, but mostly it will work most of the times, because before yielding thread dot yield, maybe t1 t2 threads are not created, we can't specify that one. So based on that, so that is the thread priorities, min max norm priorities, and that is the yield method. If you see, once if you create the thread object, it will in new state. Once after creating thread object, if you call, if you write t1 dot start, it will go to the runnable state. What? Which state? Runnable state. So whenever it will go to the runnable state, some start method, if you write start method, if you write start method, then the thread created thread will be entered into the runnable state. In runnable state, again two more states are the ready state, running state. Once if thread is created, once thread is created, then it will be in a ready state, but it will not execute run method, because already some one thread is executing by thread scheduler. It will give the chance to this thread. Once if it is thread is give the chance, then it will go to the running state, and already executing thread will come to the ready state. Okay, if already thread is executing, it is in running state, some more thread is waiting means that is not a wait method waiting or sleep method waiting, just waiting for time allocation, some quantum time period. Because if thread is executing means some scheduler will allocate some time period to the thread. That time is called as a quantum time. If suppose the time is allocated for some thread, that means the thread is in running state. Some time is not allocating, it is waiting for some thread is waiting for the time, so that is in ready state. So once a thread is created and thread is, if you call start method, it is in ready state. Ready state means it is not executing run method, waiting for time. Because why it is waiting? Already some main thread is executing. After 1 millisecond or after 2 milliseconds, it will go, it will give the chance to the this newly created thread. But already executing thread, what it will do, it will go to the ready state, and ready state thread will come to the running state. After again 1 millisecond, it will go to the ready state, and some more thread or again main thread will come to the running state, based on the quantum time period of the JVM or OS level implementations. Now some thread is executing, in middle of executing I am calling yield method. What if I call yield method, what happens? It will give the chance to the other thread. So some more thread will come to the execution, and this thread will go to the ready state again, and it will wait for the some that quantum time period. So once if you call the yield method, the thread will go to the running state to ready state. Thread will go to the running state to ready state. That is the important. Once if total thread execution is completed, then thread is terminated. Then thread is terminated. Once created by thread object calling start method, it is runnable. So this is the thread execution. If you call yield method, what is the yield method will do? Currently executing thread will stop the execution, and it will go to the ready state, and it will give the chance to the some more thread. Why like this? Suppose in example I have two threads, t1 and t2. T1 thread need to execute 4 hours, t2 thread will execute in 1 second or 1 minute. Now if first if thread scheduler, both threads have a priority 5 5. Now t1 thread execute, how much time it will take? 5 hours of time. t2 thread will take 1 minute. Now t2 thread, how much time it will wait? For 5 minutes 1 second 1 minute. First 5 hours 1 minute of time it need to wait. So in this situation both threads have same priority. Then what I will do? The main 5 hours thread, what is the 5 hours thread is there, it what it will do, it will call yield method. Suppose if I call yield method, some 1 minute of time it will go to the ready state, and 1 minute thread is executing. After completing 1 minute thread, again this 5 hours thread will execute. In this example means giving a chance to the same priority or high level priority threads, because my thread is executing lot of code, it will take lot of time. In that situation I will use yield method. Which situation I will use yield method? In practically I am executing a code, it will take a lot of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but other threads are need to wait in ready state. Instead of waiting ready state, what I will do, I will call yield method. What if I call yield method? I will go to the ready state and I will give the chance to some other threads, if those threads are completed, again I will come, suppose if other threads are very low priority threads, I will not give the chance. So yield method is what it will do. If other threads have same priority or more than currently executing thread priority, then only it will give the chance. If low priority threads are there, it will not give the chance to those threads. So that is the yield method. Yield method is giving a hint through a thread scheduler, but don't expect, if you call yield method, definitely it will go to the ready state. Don't expect like that. That is depending on your thread scheduler, but most of the operating systems will support these things. And yield method is a native method because it is implemented in OS level language, and it is a native method. So remember these points. And it's a static method, you need to call along, call with class name, thread class name only, no need to call with thread object. So that is the today's class. What is thread priorities and thread yield method? These are the today's class. Okay, in next class we will discuss about sleep method and join method. Okay, thank you.